We are here at TEDxBeaconStreet, and right now I'm sitting down with an astrophysicist, Anjali Tripathi. Anjali, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me.
So tell us, what was your talk about?
So my talk was about the fascinating process of atmospheric escape, which is how planets lose their atmosphere to space.
Yeah. So it's like how planets, they've had a long day, they need to blow off some steam.
Yeah.
This is what you're studying.
And actually, the fact when you say it's a long day, it's something that's driven by the stars that they go around. So it's really a daytime kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you're bright on the many.
Thank you so much. I did my research. Tell me a little more, though. Why is this something that you got into studying, and why is it important to you? And then also, more in large, why is this an idea worth spreading?
So the idea behind a lot of TED Talks is talking about our shared future, right? And atmospheric escape is something that affects not only our future, but also the current day here on Earth and even the past. Because every minute, every second, we're losing huge quantities of hydrogen, helium, and other gases out of our atmosphere. And that's going into space, and you're not going to get it back.
Yeah.
And so, amongst other things, you should, maybe curtail the use of those helium balloons at the birthday party.
Okay.
You need to preserve that helium. But this is something that I've found really interesting because it's a process that you can actually see an atmosphere changing, right? When you look at planets, what you see is very static.
Yeah.
And especially when we're looking at planets outside of our solar system, people get excited just to discover one of a certain size. But to be able to say, I can see its atmosphere changing and what that tells us about the process of being a planet and, that hard day, that lifetime of a planet is something that I find really fascinating that we're able to study nowadays.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit more about how you do study it.
So when you think of a scientist, you think of a white coat, a lab.
Yeah, I was really thrown off when you showed up in this really cool-looking sweater.
So my hard day is sat in front of a computer. That's my laboratory.
Yeah.
So our data comes to us from space, from the Hubble telescope, and we do lots of modeling using a computer because it's not like in the lab where you can redo the experiment. Whatever you can get from space is all you've got.
Right.
And then it's your job to, on the computer, come up with different mathematical models that can reproduce what you see. And it turns out there are lots of ways to paint the same picture. The question is, what is the right order of strokes that can paint not only this picture, but lots of other pictures?
Very cool. All right, well, I'll wrap up with one final real hard-hitting question.
All right, go for it.
Gravity, Interstellar, or The Martian?
Best or worst? Which is what you're going for.
Very good point. Best.
Best. I'd go for The Martian. I really enjoyed that film. I might be biased because I spent some time working at JPL.
Okay.
But I definitely thought that was the most solid.
Very cool. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining
All right,
us.
thanks.
Anjali Tripathi, you can see her talk by going to TEDxBeaconStreet.com.